On a day that marks were for the 18th straight week, more than 1 million people have filed for unemployment claims. We come at a time when today we will reach. They predict that we will reach 4 million cases in our country. What is important about that is the steamroller that it is the acceleration that this has. It doesn't diminish because people have filed for unemployment insurance. So we must have reached the peak. It continues. This is the Trump virus acceleration of all of this. Now, listen to this. It took just about 100 days. To reach 1 million people infected, it took 43 days. To talk to get to 2 million. It took 27 days to get to 3 million. And it took 16 days to get to 4 million. That acceleration is an assault on the lives and the livelihood of the American people. If we want to open our schools, if we have to open our economy, we must defeat this virus. We had hope with this legislation, the HEROES Act, we put forth ours 2 months in. 1 week ago they said they needed a pause while. They still are not prepared. You didn't use the pause to prepare. And what we have seen so far falls very short of the challenge that we face in order to defeat the virus, and to open it in order to open our schools, and to open our economy. Science seems to be ignored. The delay, the denial had caused deaths. We can do something about it, but we can't. We must have the appropriate response to it in terms of testing, tracing, treating at. Just dealing with the virus and not ignoring and saying too many tests, and I don't believe in test, and all the rest of that. So we have a real challenge. Forgetting politics, forgetting partisanship. This is patriotism for our country. We're up to 4 million people. As a matter of just over 2 weeks from the 3 million mark, we have to act. And what they are proposing falls far short. But they don't want you to distinguish rank leader in the Senate, who has been he'll describe to what he has been up to. But I salute him and the Senate Democrats for the work that they have done to make sure that the first 4 covered bills were all bipartisan. Hopefully, this bill will be to Mr. Leader. Thank you, Speaker Pelosi, and thank you for all the great work you have done on so many things. And now, most notably, the HEROES bill, which are 7 Democratic caucuses in full support of. Now, faced with the greatest economic challenge in 75 years, the greatest public health challenge in a century. Democrats have waited for months for our Senate colleagues to get our Senate Republican colleagues to get serious about helping the American people who have suffered so much during this pandemic. Now that Senate Republicans have finally woken up to the calamity in our country. They have been so divided, so disorganized, so unprepared that they have struggled to even draft a partisan proposal within their own conference. They can't come together. Even after all this time, it appears the Republican legislative response to Calvert is ununified, unserious, unsatisfactory. The Republican disarray and dithering has serious, potentially deadly consequences for tens of millions of Americans. 1.4 million Americans applied for unemployment last week, the first time the number rose since March. Tomorrow, the moratorium on evictions expires, exposing millions of Americans to the risk of being kicked out of their homes through no fault of their own. And over the weekend, many states will send out their final enhanced unemployment checks. But here we are still waiting for the Republicans to put together a partisan bill that will never become law just so they can muster up the courage to negotiate. And now we're hearing that the Republicans may only be able to produce a series of disjointed, small proposals that don't even add up to a coherent plan to fight COVID. From what we read in public reports, their proposals or series of proposals 1T include food assistance for hungry kids. From what we know, it 1T include rental assistance or extend the moratorium on evictions, keeping tens of millions of Americans with a roof over their heads. It 1T provide hazard pay to essential workers who've been risking their lives and their families' lives since the crisis began. It 1T make the necessary investments in communities of color that have been ravaged by this virus disproportionately. So it 1T provide new funding for state and local governments, and the need to keep teachers and bus drivers and sanitation workers on the job. And from what we know, it 1T even include funding to ensure our elections are safe. This fall, remarkably, the likely centerpiece of